All right, so I thought that y'all could do this one more day, just so that you kind of have time to watch a video and see how to use the numeracy to make the jumps simpler. Plus, like I said, it's a hard concept, so it's better to take an extra day. So I would remind them that these are analog clocks, and I'd ask them to say it, and that we're going to use our number line jumping and our sense of numbers to help us. So they'll read, and then I'd ask, what are we looking for? We're looking for the time altogether Pierce spent away home. So it tells you that I drove 15 minutes from my house to Grape Creek, half an hour, and then drove another 15 minutes. So I'd ask, okay, all together. When you put things all together, are you putting parts together or whole amounts together? Or I guess what are you looking for? Is all together part of it or all of it? And it's all of it, which makes it a whole amount. So how do we get a whole pizza versus a part of a pizza? What's bigger, the part or the whole? The whole. So how do we get big? We add or we multiply. Well, this is time, so we're either adding or subtracting. So we need to put part plus part plus part together. So I'd ask them half. If I wanted you to show me half, I want y'all to shade half lightly. How would I show a half in a fraction? It'd be 1/2, because we're shading one part out of 2. D, I'm divided into 2. I have 1 out of 2. All right. So we just want all the time I spent away from home. So we could use the clock. So we could do 15. So that would be 5, 10, 15. So this section right here, there's 15 minutes. All right, and then half an hour. Well, half of a clock. How many minutes? They should know at this point. Y'all have been doing it 4 days, but if not, and if they all yell 30, or if they don't, go, let me see, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Yep, half is 30. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So this chunk, that's half an hour. That's 30 minutes. And then another 15. 5, 10, 15. So this chunk is 15. Well, all together, this part plus this part plus this part, what does it equal? Hopefully they recognize that's a full hour. If not, I'd go, well, we should know that 2 15s, that's 10, that's 30. And then 30 plus 30 is 60. And what do we know about 60 minutes? 60 minutes equals an hour. So that's using our analog clock. How would we use it on a number line? Well, what would we be starting from? 0 and 15, 5, 10, 15, because each little hash mark, that's 5 minutes, just like spaces between the numbers is 5. So 5, 10, 15. And then we jump, what, another 15? We could do another 15. 5, 10, 15. So this is 15. And that's another 15, which makes 30, because that's 20, 25, 30. And then here's what I would know. I mean, half an hour is 30. Well, I'm going to just do a big jump. Plus 30. That's 60 minutes, which equals 1 hour. You also could have done it like this. 0 plus 15. 15 minutes. And this is honestly how I do it in fourth grade. Add another 15 minutes. Well, 15 plus 15, we said was 30. And then you add 30 to 30, and that's 60 minutes, which is 1 hour. Honestly, I like this method better, and honestly, this is how I jump time in fourth grade. We don't do the 5-minute chunks, but I do think it's good to show, maybe do one this way and one another. Just kind of depends on the problem. All right, so I'd say girls, read the next one, and it talks about the Grape Creek musical lasting 50 minutes. Normally, it's been running for 18. So what are we looking for after we read it? We're looking for the minutes left before end. Well, are we missing all the minutes or some of them? We're missing some, so that's a part. So do we get big or small? Small, so we're going to subtract, which makes sense because leftovers are when you take parts away. So what do we know? We know it normally lasts 50 minutes, and it's been running for 18. So how much is left? All right, well, on the clock, what's the whole amount that we're talking about? 50 minutes is the whole amount. So let's find 50. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. All right, so this is the whole amount of time. So on the number line, 0 plus 50 minutes, because that's how long the program lasts. It starts, it goes 50 minutes, and it ends in 50 minutes. That's what I know. All right, well then what else do we know? It's been running for 18 minutes. If you want leftover, we said we need to take some away. So we're going to take away 18. If we're going to take it away, should we go forward or backward? Backward is right, and we're going to go backward 18. So 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18. It'd be right there. So we subtracted 18 minutes. Now, on the clock, it doesn't make a lot of sense unless and I would be telling the kids this, if I told you it was an out, it was 1, well, this would be, what time would this be? Well, we know this, we should know 6 is 30, so that'd be 31, 32, so it'd be like 132. But mainly, it's just understanding that you go forward and then backward. So at this point, it's been going 50 minutes, and we're going to take out minus 18. Now, I'm not someone who could do that in my head. So I would highly encourage them to write 50 minus 18. And if you have 0, can you pull 8 out? No. If there's more on the floor, go next door. When you go next door, you're pulling away a rod. So you went from 5 rods. Now you're going to 4 because you are regrouping that rod into 10 singles. And I do this even in this part of the year. I go back. And how many singles are here? 0. So we have 10 minus 8. We count up. I have 8, 9, 10. We have 4. We take off 1. We're left with 3. So now we have 32 minutes left. All right, so we read about Mrs. Phelps visiting her friend when she finishes her laundry. It's taking 45 minutes for the clothes to wash, 50 to dry. Then she's going to take a quarter of an hour to fold and put them away. So if she starts at 10:30, what time will she be able to head to her friend's house? So we're looking for the time she heads friend's house. So when she is planning to leave for her friend's house, is that the beginning or the end? Yeah, that would be the end of her chores. So if we want the end, that means we have a start and we're looking for the ending, which tells me my direction is forward. Well, what time did she start? It says she started at 10:30. So we're going to use the clock to show 10:30. This is our hour. These are our minutes. Short word, shorthand, longhand, long word, and I'd make them read it, write it again. So 10:30. Now, what do we know about 30 minutes? It's half, right? So it's 10:30, but we want to make sure that that little hour hand is halfway between these guys, because you're half of an hour to the next one. And we should not have to count by fives to understand that 6 is half. So it's 10:30. All right, what do we know? She starts at 10:30. Well, what's she doing? Laundry. Okay, how long is it going to take? Okay, you're right. We've got a 45-minute chunk to wash, a 50-minute chunk to dry, and then we've got a quarter of an hour. Now, quarters. How many quarters are in $1? 4. All right, so let's divide our clock into fourths. Quarters. 4 quarters. D. My dollar is divided into fourths. And if we want a quarter, we're talking about 1/4, 1 quarter. And on a clock, what number's right here? 12, 1, 2, 3. So a quarter of an hour is 5, 10, 15 minutes. So we're going 15, 45, and 50. Well, we do not want to add. This is not a time where we come over here and add all this up. Because then you get 100 minutes, and what's wrong with 100? Or not 100, but whatever. You get 10. So 10, 11. You get 110 minutes. What's wrong with that? And I'd ask them this, do it. Well, yeah, it's more than an hour. How many minutes are in an hour? 60 minutes. Okay, so this is why in time we don't want to do this. So at this point, y'all, I would not be using this to, I mean, you could use this to count forward. So we could chunk. If they give you a clock, you could totally do like 45. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. But then the kids are going to have to know that when you hit here, that's 11. So see what I mean? The clock is not what I would be using to jump this much of time. This is where I would show the start. So we're going to start at 10:30. And like I said, we've got this 45, this 15, and this 50, right? And I'd ask the kids, what do y'all want to start with? I think it'd be, or I'll tell them, I think it'd be smart. Well, you're looking at this. Look at where you're at. You're at 30 minutes. 30 minutes. How many minutes are in an hour? 60. So what should I add to 30 to get 60? Another 30. Yeah, 3 plus 3 is 6. So 30 plus 30 is 60. So here's what I would recommend. I would recommend jumping 30 minutes, because 30 plus 30 would make it 10:60. And that 60 minutes is really 1 hour. So 10 plus 1 hour, you're at 11 o'clock. All right, but were any of these 30? No. So if we took 30 out of this, what would we be left with? 20, because 5 minus 3 is 2. All right, well, in this case, you're at 0. So you could make a big jump at this point, because 0 plus 15 is 15. 0 plus 45 is 45. 0 plus 20 is 20. So I would recommend jumping the full 45 minutes, because 0 plus 45 is 45. So now you're at 11:45. And we have a 15 and a 20. Now what? Now, some of you, I would tell them, it's always safe to jump by 5s and 10s, because we're good at counting by 5s and 10s. So what do you want to do? They might say to add 20. No, because if you add 20, then you're at 65 minutes. And unless you're really good at converting, probably not. I would guide them, okay, if I took 5 minutes out of 15, what would I have left? 10. If we add 5, 45. Think about counting by fives. 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. So now we're at 11:50. Well, 50 plus 10 is what? 60, and 60 minutes is, that's right, an hour. So 11 o'clock just changed to 12. And so that was that 10-minute jump. There's the 15 right there. See 15? And there's your 45. And your 50 minutes, you're going to have 30 here, and then we're going to add the other 20. Well, that's easy, because 0 plus 20, 12:20. That would be your answer. Your ending time is 12:20. So you kind of have to think logically, which this is why if kids aren't very good at counting or their number sense, you have to help them. You kind of have to guide them and be their thought. Okay. Ariana began her piano practice at 2:45. She practices, blah, 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 blah. What do we want to know? We want the time finishes practicing. Well, if we want the finish, is that the beginning or the end? That's the end. So we're missing the ending, which means we have a start, and we're going to be moving forward. Forward is addition. What is your starting time? 2:45. So that's the start. So let's just show that on the clock, 2:45. Let's see. I'm going to think about something. I started drawing that. Let's start with the 45 minutes. What do we know 6 is? 30, 35, 40, 45. So our long minute, the longer word. Now, that means the clock has gone all the way around to 45. That means right here we have 5, 10, 15 minutes until the next hour, which means we are a quarter till the next hour. Well, if you're at 2:45, what would be the next hour? 3, right. In 5, 10, 15 minutes, in a quarter of time, you're going to be 3 o'clock. So see how I started drawing the hour toward 2? No. When you're at 45, that hour hand is almost going to be pointing at 3. Why? Because in 15 minutes, it will be 3. So this is a good thing to talk to kids about. Like, look at the minutes. I always call this the danger zone. If your minute hand is in the danger zone, be careful. Your hour hand may look like it's 3, but it's not yet. I don't think you have to worry about that so much in 3rd grade, though. All right, so we're going to start at 2:45 p.m. That's in the afternoon. I always remember that because a.m., p.m. Alphabetically, A comes before P. Just like mornings come before afternoons, if that makes sense. All right, so we're going for 1 hour, 45 minutes. What do you think we should jump first? Hopefully they say 1 hour. I agree. If you jump 1 hour, that means you're adding the 2 plus 1, which takes you to 3:45. All right, now what do we need to jump? 45 minutes. Well, you do not want to add 45 to this, because 45 and 45, and I would just tell them to watch, that's 90 minutes. That doesn't make any sense. So we need to break 45 up. Well, now we over here said when you're at 45 in 15 minutes, it's a new hour, right? So what if we jump 15 minutes? 45 plus 5, 10, 15 is a new hour. So if you're at 3:45, you would be 4 o'clock. All right, so 45 minutes. How many have we used? 15. All right, so let's see how many are left. 30. Well, look what you're at. You're at a 0. 0 plus 30 is 30. So in 30 minutes, it'll be 4:30. That is what time she finishes. And this is what I mean about thinking logically. You've got to show them how to think and use those 15s, those 30s, the 10s, the 5s. All right, so we read about Jaden and Jacob's baseball practices. If their practice ended at a half hour after 7, what time did it start? What are we looking for? The time it started. Is the start a beginning or an end? It's a beginning. So we're missing the start, which means we have the end. What time is the end? I hear 7 and 7:30. Which one is it? I agree. It ended a half hour after 7. Half. Hi-ya! Chopping 1, 2. Half of an hour is 30 minutes. So 30 minutes after 7 means we end at 7:30. Now baseball, do you think that's 7:30 in the morning like when you go to school, or 7:30 in the evening? Evening, right. And the afternoon is the PM. You don't have to add that, but it sure doesn't hurt to start adding it. We need to go to the start. So if you're moving from the end to the start, would you add or subtract? Yeah, you'd subtract. Well, what do we need to go back? An hour 20. Well, it makes sense to jump back minus 1h minus 1 hour. Well, 7 minus 1 is what? Yep, 6, and we didn't touch the minutes, so now it's 6:30. What do we need to go backwards? 20 minutes. Could we do that? Should we do a full jump? They might say yes, no. If they say no, say, well, what would you suggest? They might say do 10 plus 10. Okay. There's no wrong way to do it. I'm going to do minus 20, and let me tell you why. I know 30 is bigger, so 30 minus 20 is 10. So it began at 6:10. Now, what if I did it the other way? Well, if you had done minus 10, you take away the tens digit, and it would have gone to 6:20. If you did another minus 10, 20 would have dropped to 10. Still the same thing. So there's no wrong way to do it. Just use your work, show your work. And we needed to show the set. And just use these clocks, really, quite honestly. I was expecting you to show like the time that they give you, like 7:30. So if we're at 30, you're halfway between 7 and 8 o'clock, because it's 7:30. And this was the end. So really, I'm just wanting them to use the placements of the hands. The beginning, as I think back to this, they helped you do part plus part plus part. And this one, you were able to go forward and then kind of backwards. Kind of helpful, not really. But these definitely, I would just be using them like, this is the start, and then use this to find the end. Or this is the start, find the end. Or this is the end, whichever one you want. They could all be start times. I'm just wanting them to practice putting their hands in. All right, and then the last one, we want the time the chores were started. Oh, if he started, I should read better. I want the time completed them. If you want the time you complete chores, is that the beginning or the end? Right, we're missing the time that we completed. So when did we begin them? Started at 12 noon. Well, 12 noon, that's lunchtime. So 12, short hour hand, and 12 o'clock, well, that's 0 to 5. So this is when your clock is straight up the same hands. 12 o'clock. This is the start. And we want to know when she finishes her chores, or when Cash finishes, his chores. So, are they asleep? 30 minutes for the room. Quarter of an hour to pull weeds. Well, we said quarters, 5, 10, 15. I can look on my other notes. We said a quarter, 4 quarters make $1, and 1 quarter is 15. So I show how you could look back on your notes to find stuff. All right, so I'm going to change that to 15. And then 25 minutes to wash the dogs. We've got a 30, a 15, and a 25. Well, How do y'all want to jump this? How do y'all want to do it? Can you add them all together? If someone said that, well, let's see, 30, 25, 15. What's 5 plus 5? 10. And I know that's 5, 6, 7, 70 minutes. That doesn't, I mean, why is that not a good jump? Yeah, because there's not a 1270. Now, if your kid is really good at math, they may know that that's an hour, 10 minutes. And if they say that out loud, then I would say, okay, you could do that. And then you would show me plus 60 plus 10, because 60 plus 10 is 70. 60 minutes, if I wrote 1260, I need to know that 60 minutes is actually an hour. So 12 o'clock just went to the next hour. So now you're at 1 o'clock. So you have to know to convert. And then 1 plus that extra 10 would be 110. I think most kids would probably put, 1270. So what would we do? Well, I would hope that they'd say like maybe do 30 or, well, 30. What about 30 plus 15? What's that? 45. Okay, so let's knock them both at the same time. 0 plus 45 is 45. So 12, 45. Now what do we need to jump? 25. Well, how many minutes are in an hour? 60. Yeah. And if you add 25 and 45, you get 70. So, no, we don't want to do that. So what do we do? What could we jump? 5? Okay, 5 is not bad. You know why? And if they're lost, kind of help them. You know why I would do 5? Because that's like counting. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 45, 50. All right, we've taken away 5 minutes. How many are left? 20. All right, what do you want to jump now? Okay, I heard 10. Why do we want to jump 10? Because 50 plus 10 is 60 minutes. Okay, and what do we know about that? Yeah, it's 1 hour. So 1250 just became 1 o'clock. All right, so if you jumped 10, how many are left? 10. So it's 110. This is what you need to do to help them with their time. You have to help them find the 5 minute, the 10 minute, using 60 minutes, quarters, just making the math very meaningful. Could I have used the clock? I could have done like 12 plus 45. There's the plus 45, right? And then that would have taken care of this, right? And then if you wanted to add 25, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So you would have made 1 full hour with an extra 10. So you would have gone plus 1 hour and 10 minutes, which 12 plus an hour is not 13, it's 1 o'clock. But see what I mean? How that, to me, that's very confusing. This, not only does it make more sense, but you're really building a kid's numeracy skills, their thinking, their number sense, which is powerful for any type of math.